All right, welcome. Okay, welcome. Welcome to this Innovation Mindfulness group. My name is Mauro Zappaterra. I'm one of the providers here. This is our third session in our Introduction to Mindfulness class, and today we're going to be talking about mindfulness of emotions. Mindfulness of emotions. We started off with an introduction to mindfulness, what mindfulness was or is. We really defined it. We used a number of definitions, including John Kabat-Zinn definition, which is paying attention on purpose to the present moment without judgment. Paying attention on purpose to the present moment without judgment. And then we also looked at other definitions, but usually the definitions have some sort of encompassing concept of paying attention to the present moment and accepting it or being open to it. We saw one from UCLA of paying attention to moment experience and being with the present moment with an openness and curiosity and a willingness to be with what is, the willingness to be what is in the present moment. In the present moment, because what's arising in the present moment is truth. That's essentially what is arising from the present for the present moment. Oftentimes we might be resisting it, and you just can sort of check in with yourself. How often do I resist the present moment? And is that helping you or harming you? And checking in with that. We looked over formal and informal practice. We talked about the 3 Ps in informal practice, really that power of pause, the power of bringing the pause into your life, pausing before you do anything, pausing before you respond, pausing before you eat, pausing before you drive, pausing before you send a text message, pausing and coming back to the present moment, and then proceeding with whatever you might be doing. And maybe when you proceed, the quality of your presence is just slightly shifted. And every time we bring that pause and we bring that presence, we're actually affecting neurochemical changes in our brain and body. Imagine that. Imagine every time that you have actually a conscious ability of directing which neurotransmitters are being released in your brain, which hormones are being released in your body, that you have an ability to change, for instance, whether there's cortisol flowing through your blood and activating all the stress response genes and activating the sympathetic nervous system, or natural feel-good molecules like oxytocin and endorphins, that we actually have an ability to do this. And that can be as simple as bringing the pause into your life, bringing pause, present, and proceed. And then formal practice of at least having 5 minutes a day of formal practice where you take time out of your life to do that practice. Maybe you're sitting, lying down, you're in the shower, wherever it is. But that time is spent paying attention on purpose to the present moment without judgment. And then we looked at the anchor, a place that you can direct your attention to that feels safe and comfortable for you. That's a place that you can come back to. And as your mind wanders, simply the practice is as simple as, though it can be difficult, is as your mind wanders, you notice your mind has wandered and you come back to the present moment. You come back to your anchor. So you notice your mind has wandered. And as soon as you notice your mind has wandered, that's actually a beautiful moment. Look, my mind has wandered. And that starts to inform you of the nature of your mind, that the mind has a tendency of wanting to wander, just like sheep as they're going down a pasture and they're going off to the sides. And there's a shepherd that's trying to keep them all together, going and being in a group. But the mind has a tendency of wandering. And as soon as we notice that, I call that a beautiful moment of mindfulness. You simply come back and there's no judgment. You do it with loving kindness. You do it with self-compassion. It's like training a little puppy, right? And at first, when you start doing this practice, just like when you got the week-old puppy, that it wants to see everything, and you start noticing, oh my goodness, my mind is everywhere, trying to plan and do and this and think about the past and the future and everything. I can't focus. I can't slow down my thoughts or whatever it might be. And then you start noticing that okay, I'm just bringing awareness to my thoughts, and you start seeing the constant stream, right? And that's what we did last time, was starting to pay attention to our thoughts and notice the constant stream and use an anchor to come back to the present moment. Sometimes that anchor can be your breath, a repetition of a word or phrase, a physical sensation, whatever is authentic to you that you found. And it might change from day to day, but that you find something that you can direct your attention to. And as you notice your mind wander, you notice what appears. Well, I think a lot, or I feel a lot, or there's a lot of sensations that are, every time I try to quiet my mind or I focus on the present moment, my back pain really increases. I really notice the sensation. And so you notice what appears. And, well, you might like it or not like it. There's usually a judgment that arises. And that's an important part of, wow, I'm really judging the present moment. I'm really resisting the present moment. And that's another part of simply noticing what arises for you. What are the thoughts that arise? I don't know how to do this. I'm not good at this. This is not working for me, right? Whatever it might be. And you may notice emotions. So emotions are another object that arise in this vast awareness that we can pay attention to, that we can be aware of, and we can start to learn how to work with the emotions that arise. Just like thoughts, right? It's just an emotion, just like thoughts. It's just a thought. We can latch on to that emotion and feel like, oh, this is us. In fact, some of us use that language, right? I am depressed. I am anxious, as opposed to I'm feeling depression. And we identify with it as this is us. Well, has it always been us? Has it always been you? Does that define you at all moments of life? Or is there a moment that is arising right now that might have some anxiety, or might have some fear, or might have some joy, or whatever it might be? And so when we practice mindfulness of emotions, we do bring up, and I have a very specific practice that I like to do with you. It's called the R.A.I.N practice, which was popularized by a psychologist, Tara Brach, and she's written about it, and she's popularized it. And it's an acronym for a very specific practice to work with emotions, And we'll go through it. One of the things to notice when you are working with emotions or even thoughts is this concept of a feeling tone. That oftentimes prior to an emotion or a thought, that there'll be a feeling tone. There'll be a very quick judgment that we place on what we are experiencing in the moment. People have usually taught about 3 types of feeling tones. Those include pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. That with every thought, for instance, it's either pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. That for every emotion or feeling or sensation, it's pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. And that what we tend to do is we tend to gravitate towards the ones that are pleasant, and we tend to resist the ones that are unpleasant or try to get rid of. And that reactivity is also something good to notice, right? Wow, as soon as something unpleasant arises, as opposed to me just being with the unpleasantness, I react to it and I want it to go away. Maybe I feel threatened by it, and so therefore I tense. Okay. As opposed to just simply noticing it, oh, that's an unpleasant feeling tone. Let me see if I can be with that unpleasant sensation. I'm feeling sorrow. There's a feeling of sadness. There is sadness. There's a feeling of anxiety that is present, just like there's a thought. There's a thought about me wanting to prepare lunch, or there's a thought about me wanting to go and travel, or whatever it might be. Oh, it's just a thought. Okay. And so a lot of times we notice the reactivity, the immediate reactivity to thoughts and emotions, that we tend to want to resist unpleasant thought and emotions, and we tend to gravitate towards pleasant thought and emotions. And if we can just be with the thought and emotion and notice our reactivity to it as well, that's actually part of the practice. Now, there's really good research around emotions, and the way that I like emotions to sort of look at emotions is starting to look at the word emotion. The derivation of the word emote or emovere, means out, motion means to move. So in essence, if you look at the word, even its derivation, there's a quality of moving. There's a quality of movement. It's not holding on. The derivation of the word emotion is not keep in. It's move out. Feel it in the present moment and let it flow. Let it flow. Let it flow. We don't need to hold on to emotions of depression or sadness, just like we don't need to hold on to emotions of joy or love of fear. Now, there may be some qualities that arise when you are in a state of presence, when you are in a state of mindfulness, and you can sort of enhance those qualities or be in those qualities, but still you're simply allowing them. We're not attaching onto them. I may have told you about a dream I had when a friend of mine asked me to be a best man at a wedding, and I was having a difficult time coming up with something, a speech. And I had a dream about holding a dove in my hand. And as I was holding the dove in my hand, I squeezed the dove because I wanted to hold it. I wanted to keep it in my hand. And so what did I do? I tried to squeeze, I tried to hold on to it, I tried to grab it. And when I grabbed the dove, what happened is that the dove started flapping its wings and wanted to get away. But the only way that the dove would actually stay on my hand was if I opened my hand. Now, this allowed the dove to fly away, but then it flew back. It was able to fly back and had that freedom of movement. And I didn't have to clench on the dove to want to hold it and put it in a cage. And then it felt threatened and it was angry and it wanted to bite me and it wanted to fly away and never come back. So when I opened my hand, the dove was free. The dove was happy. The dove was free of movement, emotion. It was free to move. It was free to continue flowing. It flew away and then it happily came back. Similar to our emotions, how we learn how to latch on to certain emotions. Oh, that's a good emotion. Let me hold on to that. Let me hold on to this emotion, just like the dove. Let me hold on to this emotion and let me push all these other emotions away. I don't want to feel it. I don't want to feel that. I don't want to feel this. And with this practice, we start to open up that vessel of awareness. We start to open up what we can actually hold in real time. And what we realize is that we can hold everything, that we can hold all emotions. That whatever is arising in the present moment is simply arising. It's a natural unfolding of the present moment. We can witness and observe it and be aware of it. We don't have to believe it. We don't have to latch onto it. We don't have to identify with it, that we can simply notice it. And so there's some really great research around this emotion, right? I call it the emotional onion, that there's layers of emotions that we are all living with. And as we deal with the first layer, we get deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into the core layers of emotions. And so as you start doing this work, you're peeling this emotional onion. One emotion, maybe the first emotion is stress or anger. And then you get into that, clear that one by doing some of these practices. And you notice that maybe there's sadness. Maybe there's grief. Maybe there's something deeper. And so there's this peeling of the emotional onion, and we get to a core emotion that we can learn how to work with. The practice that we're going to do today, It's probably gonna be about 20 minutes or so of practice, and it's R.A.I.N, and the R stands for recognize, the A stands for accept, the I stands for investigate, and the N stands for nurture or non-attachment. I like nurture from you nurture yourself, you bring loving kindness, compassion to yourself. The first part of this, the R, is very important. Recognize. Let's start recognizing our emotions. There was really good research done out of UCLA, and you may have heard this term, name it to tame it. Name it to tame it. And what they did is they were scanning people's brains as they were showing them images that would induce strong emotions. And at first, they just asked the people to, experience it. And what they saw in real time was that the amygdala was firing really intensely. And we know that the amygdala is an area of the brain that processes emotions. And then they asked the people to name the emotion they were feeling. And what they noticed is that prior to naming it, the amygdala would be really hot, firing very red in the scanner. And as they were able to name the emotion, what they did is they incorporated the prefrontal cortex. They incorporated the part of the brain that is more evolutionarily advanced, that helps with executive functioning, like planning, problem solving, reasoning. And when they brought on the prefrontal cortex, they noticed that the two areas of the brain were actually communicating. And what they noticed is when you brought on the prefrontal cortex, that the signal in the amygdala slightly decreased. And now what they noticed was that essentially after naming it, that the intensity of the emotion that was felt in the body started to decrease. All right. The next part of that, after the recognize, which is simply naming what emotion is present. And it can be as simple as, what am I feeling right now? What am I feeling right now? And just be honest with yourself. What am I feeling right now? And sit with it. The next part of that, I, is investigate. Where do you notice this in your body? And this is where part of the embodiment of the emotion, having a body sensation, may arise. Do you notice in your heart, in your belly, in your throat, in the back of your chest, whatever it might be? Do you notice the emotion in your body as a sensation? Does it have a color? Does it have a shape? Does it move? Does it have a quality to it? And with that openness and curiosity, right, can you be with it, with how it's presenting in the present moment? Now, when we say accept and investigate, this is not that, for instance, if you're dealing with an emotion, let's say you were injured by somebody, we're not condoning the actions that were done, but we're simply accepting what is arising for us in the present moment, in this moment. This doesn't mean, for instance, that we don't need to send a letter or, call the police, for instance. Right? But in this moment, as we're doing this practice, what is arising and being authentic with that? Okay. So even if we accept an emotion, we're accepting what's happening in the present moment. We're not accepting the actions that may have caused that. All right. We're not saying, oh, I accept what that person did to me. Okay. We're not condoning a behavior that may have triggered emotion, but we are being totally authentic and true to ourselves and saying, what is coming up for me now? What is coming up for me now? Yeah. Once we've gone through the recognize, there's an acceptance piece where do we accept the present moment? There's an investigation piece where we investigate, and then there's an N where there's we nurture. Bring in self-compassion, bring in loving kindness, and have a quality there of non-attachment. just this emotion. It's arising in me right now. I don't need to be identified by it, but also I can bring loving kindness to it. I can bring compassion to it. When we do this practice, and if you do any practice around the work of mindfulness and emotions, especially emotions that may be difficult or challenging, it's good to practice with an emotion that might have an intensity level of like 3 to 4 out of 10. We don't want to do a practice, especially at the beginning, that might cause panic, that might cause post-traumatic stress disorder or anything like that, that might reactivate anything. At the beginning, we can bring in those once we get better at practicing with working with emotions. But when you're practicing initially, it's really helpful to use emotions, bring in emotions that have an activation level, let's say, of 2 out of 10, if 10 is the most intense level you can imagine. Okay. And it's a really good way of practicing with emotions that you feel like, God, this emotion it's just been sitting around for a while. Which we talked about thoughts, right? Like that cloud that's just sort of the dark cloud that just sort of sits there. It's not moving. It's not passing by. That's similar with thoughts. There's these waterfalls, waterfalls, we can watch it, but some thoughts are more gooey. They're more sticky. That's the same with emotions as well. And you might notice that. And so this is a really good practice to start doing that with. Oh, I've really noticed this emotion. It's not super triggering, but it's just sort of been present there for a while. Let me try doing this practice, right? So R.A.I.N, R is recognize, A is accept, I is investigate, N is nurture, and I will take you through the various the various practice and the various steps of this. Okay. So let's begin. Okay, so let's find a comfortable posture. A posture that will allow you to feel relaxed, yet alert. If you choose to close your eyes, gently closing your eyes. If not, inviting you to have a soft downward gaze. And taking a moment to take 2 or 3 deep breaths. And with each exhale, seeing if you can relax and settle into your body ever so slightly more. Feeling supported by the surface you are on. Allowing your body to get heavier and heavier. And if there are any areas of tension that you notice, simply bringing attention to that tension and seeing if you can relax it ever so slightly with your intention or breath, or just adjusting your posture to help release the tension if possible. And then breathing regularly. And I invite you now to begin the R.A.I.N practice and to scan your body or sense whatever might be going on in your life right now. And for this practice, bringing to mind a situation or circumstance that is difficult for you in this moment. Maybe bringing to mind a current situation in which you feel stuck, one that elicits a difficult reaction of anger, sadness, or whatever comes up for you. Visualize whatever the situation is. If it involves another person, see that person. If it involves you, see the setting you are in. Taking some moments to enter this experience, visualizing the scene, the situation, any words that were spoken. In this practice, it would be important to bring something to mind that has an intensity level of 2, 3, 4 out of 10. Nothing that's too intense at this moment as we learn how to do this practice. And now begin the practice of R.A.I.N with R, recognizing. Recognize whatever is most predominant for you right now. Recognize what is happening for you in this moment. You may ask yourself, what is happening inside of me right now? What sensations are you most aware of? What emotions arise? Is your mind filled with thoughts about this experience? Recognize and be aware. What is here for you right now? You may choose to whisper certain words to yourself of whatever is arising for you, of emotions, worried, angry, fearful, anxious, scared, whatever is most prominent. Take a moment to become aware of this felt sense of this situation as a whole in your body, as a sensation that you feel right now in the present moment. As you recognize what is present for you, see if your intention can be to allowing what is here for you right now with no resistance. You may whisper to yourself, "This belongs. Yes, let it be." You might find yourself saying yes to a big inner no, to a body and mind that is painfully contracted in resistance. You might even be saying yes to the part of you that is saying, "I hate this." That is a totally natural part of this process. Recognizing what is here and true for you right now and allowing it to be just as it is with no judgment or resistance. And if you can allow, even for just some moments, inviting yourself to begin to investigate the eye of R.A.I.N. Open yourself up to this investigation with a natural interest and curiosity. Investigate with gentleness. As a 1 or 2-year-old looks at a flower or a bumblebee for the first time, you may notice where you feel this in your body. You may be aware of a color or shape that it is associated with. You may ask yourself, what am I believing? What am I anticipating? What about this most wants my attention? And see what arises for you. Notice the felt sense in your body. You may be aware of heat, coolness, tightness, pressure, achiness, vibration, numbness, tingling. Whatever you notice as a body sensation with your gentle investigation. This sensation in the body may feel very vague, and that's okay too. Inviting whatever comes into your awareness to be felt in the body with awareness. You may find it helpful to breathe, breathing more deeply, even inviting yourself to direct your breath to that area of the body. Direct your breath to that felt sensation of the emotion in your body. As you continue to investigate, you might notice that you begin to recognize more. And as this may happen, returning to the R of R.A.I.N. as well as the A, and allow it to be there if possible, with no resistance, a surrendering presence, and continuing to investigate the felt sense of this in your body. If this becomes too intense for you, notice the intensity as well. Seeing if you can allow that intensity to be present for you as well, or choosing to return to your breath or your anchor, a place that feels safe for you. As you contact this place in your body and allow what is happening, what do you notice? Do you notice a softening? Or does it bring more tension and fear? Does it change in any way? Does it intensify? You may ask that vulnerable place, the place of most difficulty, how do you want me to be with you? What do you need most right now? What does this place most need? May it be love, pure acceptance or forgiveness, to feel heard, to feel embraced, and then choosing to enter into the N of R.A.I.N, nurture. As you sense what is needed, what is your natural response? And see if you can notice what arises from you. Sensing that your heart can offer what's needed in this moment, as if your heart could touch that vulnerable place with some quality of presence, love, and compassion. If it's easier for you that the love and compassion come from another source, such as a loved one, a spiritual figure, a pet, nature, or some loving presence, just imagine and feel and sense that love pouring in. You might also offer some wise words to yourself, such as, I'm sorry, I love you, it's okay, I'm here and I'm not leaving. You may place your hand on your heart or on your throat, on your eyes or on your face, or any place that feels nurturing on your body, and use the healing touch as a way to nurture yourself as well. Let your intention be to let that vulnerable place feel love, to be loved. You may imagine light, warmth, or a tender touch coming to that area. As you offer this unconditional love to yourself, see if you can become familiar with the quality of presence that is here. If you can, allowing yourself to open to that love, to that compassionate, tender presence, and seeing if you can rest in that awareness. allowing the nurture to enter your body, really feeling the presence of that nurture, of that tender presence, of the unconditional love that is present right now. And as we close this meditation for today, allowing this R.A.I.N practice to inform your day, to see if you can recognize, allow, investigate, and nurture any triggering moments that may arise for you today, and see if you can rest in that nurture of pure love, tenderness, and compassion. And now taking 2 or 3 deep breaths, feeling your feet on the ground, opening your eyes if your eyes were closed, reorienting yourself to your room and your surroundings, stretching if you feel like you need to stretch, and just taking a moment to reflect on your practice today.